There's a moment we've all experienced. Someone says something dismissive or gestures in a way that feels belittling, and that spark of anger rises in your chest. It's natural, right, to feel the urge to react, to defend yourself, maybe even to lash out. But what if I told you that the most powerful response isn't to fight back, but to stay calm? Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Today, we're going to explore how Stoicism teaches us to handle disrespect not by letting it control us, but by mastering our own reactions. We'll break down key principles like detachment, perspective, and self-control tools that can help you remain unshaken, even when faced with provocation. This isn't about suppressing emotions, it's about choosing how to respond in a way that keeps your peace intact. So, if you've ever felt that sting of disrespect and wondered how to rise above it, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Why does disrespect bother us so much? At its core, disrespect is just an external event, a word, a look, a gesture that exists outside of our control. What truly shapes our experience is the meaning we attach to it. The Stoics believed that events themselves are indifferent. It's our judgments about them that determine whether they harm us. As Epictetus once said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Think about it. When someone disrespects you, it's not the action itself that causes pain. It's the story you tell yourself about it. If you label that moment as bad or humiliating, you amplify its power over you. But what if, instead of internalizing it, you saw it as merely a reflection of the other person's character or mood, not your own worth? Here's an example. Imagine someone cut you off in traffic. You might feel angry or disrespected, but the Stoic would ask, why let that stranger's behavior dictate your peace of mind? By refusing to assign excessive meaning to the event, you reclaim your emotional freedom. Take a moment to reflect. How do you define disrespect in your own life? Is it something that inherently harms you, or is it the weight you give it that makes it feel so heavy? The Stoic approach invites us to question our assumptions and, in doing so, find a way to stay calm even when faced with behavior that might otherwise upset us. Stoics teach us to observe, not absorb. This simple yet profound idea lies at the heart of cognitive detachment, a tool that helps us separate our emotions from external events. Imagine standing on the shore of a stormy sea. See the waves crash and roar, but you remain anchored, untouched by their chaos. Cognitive detachment works in much the same way, allowing you to witness life's challenges without being swept away by them. Seneca, one of Stoicism's great thinkers, emphasized the importance of emotional control, reminding us that while we can't always control what happens to us, we can always control how we respond. Take the modern example of online criticism. It's easy to feel attacked or defensive when someone leaves a harsh comment or negative review. But with cognitive detachment, you can pause and ask yourself, does this person's opinion define me? Is my worth tied to their words? By stepping back, you create space to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. This doesn't mean ignoring the feedback or pretending it doesn't hurt. It means choosing not to let it dictate your emotions or actions. Think about how this principle could apply to moments of disrespect in your own life. When someone speaks to you in a dismissive or rude way, what if, instead of lashing out or internalizing the pain, you paused and observed the situation with calm clarity? Detachment doesn't mean apathy. It's about reclaiming your power to choose how you engage with the world. By practicing this skill, you can transform moments of conflict into opportunities for growth and self-mastery. What part of disrespect can you actually control? It's a question worth asking, especially when we feel wronged or slighted. the Stoics teach us about the dichotomy of control, the idea that some things are within our power and others are not. Disrespect, for example, is often about someone else's words or actions which we can't control. But what we can control is how we respond to it, our reactions, our interpretations, and the meaning we assign to that disrespect. Those are entirely up to us. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That internal sovereignty, that ability to choose our mindset, is where our true power lies. Let's say you're in a heated argument and someone hurls an insult your way. In that moment, their words might sting, but you have a choice to let it escalate the situation or to pause, breathe, and respond with calmness. By focusing on what you can control, your own composure, you take the high road and avoid giving the other person the satisfaction of seeing you rattled. It's not easy, but it's empowering. Think about your own life. Where do you feel disrespected? Is it at work, in relationships, or even online? Identify those moments and ask yourself, what can I control here? Is it how I react? Is it the story I tell myself about what happened? The more you practice this mindset, the more you'll realize how much power you actually have, even in the face of disrespect. Throughout history, Stoic philosophers faced slander and disrespect with remarkable composure, viewing such challenges as opportunities to strengthen their character. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic emperors, dealt with constant criticism and betrayal, yet he never allowed these actions to dictate his response. Instead, he saw them as tests of his virtue, moments to practice patience, humility, and resilience. This mindset transforms disrespect from a personal attack into a training ground for self-mastery. Epictetus, the Stoic teacher, once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that adversity doesn't define us, our response to it does. When someone treats us with disrespect, it's easy to feel wounded or defensive. But Stoicism teaches us to pause and ask ourselves, what can I learn from this? How can I respond in a way that aligns with my values? Consider a modern scenario. A coworker criticizes your work in front of others. Instead of reacting with frustration or anger, you might choose to respond calmly, asking for constructive feedback or simply acknowledging their perspective without internalizing the negativity. By doing so, you not only demonstrate grace under pressure, but also reinforce your own emotional resilience. Disrespect, when reframed, becomes less about the other person's actions and more about your own growth. It's an invitation to practice virtues like patience, humility, and self-control, qualities that define a Stoic mindset. Every moment of disrespect is a chance to rise above pettiness, to respond with dignity, and to emerge stronger. So, the next time you face disrespect, remember, it's not an obstacle but an opportunity to cultivate your character. The present moment is where Stoic power lies. When faced with disrespect, our instinct might be to react impulsively or dwell on past slights. But Stoicism teaches us to anchor ourselves in the here and now. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, often reminded himself to focus on what is directly in front of him, writing in his meditations that the present moment is the only thing truly within our control. By practicing presence, we create a buffer between the insult and our response, giving ourselves the space to choose how to act rather than being swept away by emotion. Mindfulness, which involves observing our thoughts and feelings without judgment, is a powerful tool that aligns seamlessly with Stoic principles. It allows us to acknowledge disrespect without letting it define us or dictate our behavior. For example, imagine you're in a heated conversation where someone speaks to you in a condescending tone. Instead of retaliating or stewing in anger, take a breath and ground yourself in the moment. Notice the sensations in your body, the tone of their voice, and the thoughts passing through your mind. This simple act of awareness can help you respond with clarity and calm rather than reactivity. The next time you feel disrespected, try this practice. Pause for a few seconds and focus on your breathing. Feel the weight of your feet on the ground or the air filling your lungs. By grounding yourself in the present, you'll find it easier to detach from the negativity and respond in a way that reflects your values rather than the heat of the moment. This isn't about ignoring the disrespect, but about rising above it with dignity and control. What if disrespect says more about the other person than you? This simple shift in perspective can be a powerful tool in reducing its emotional impact. The Stoics believed that understanding the motivations behind someone's actions can help us respond with calm and clarity. Seneca once said, "When we are offended by others, it is often because we misunderstand their intentions. By stepping back and considering what might be driving their behavior, we can see their actions as a reflection of their struggles, not our worth." For instance, imagine someone makes a rude comment. Instead of taking it personally, you could ask yourself, what might they be going through? Are they stressed, insecure, or simply having a bad day? This doesn't excuse their behavior, but it helps you detach from the insult and see it as a mirror of their inner world rather than your own. Think about a time when you felt disrespected. How might your reaction change if you considered the other person's perspective? Could their words or actions be a cry for help or a sign of their own pain? By reframing the situation, you gain the upper hand not by fighting back but by rising above. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom, turning adversity into an opportunity for growth and understanding. Resilience is the armor of the Stoic. It's what allows us to face disrespect, adversity, and challenges without losing our composure or inner peace. But resilience isn't something you're born with, it's a skill, a virtue that's cultivated through practice and reflection. Think of it like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it this way: "No man is free who is not master of himself." In other words, true freedom comes from learning to endure hardship without letting it dictate our emotions or actions. Take Cato the Younger, a figure from ancient Rome who embodied Stoic resilience. Despite facing relentless criticism and political attacks, he never wavered in his principles. He remained calm, composed, and steadfast, even when others sought to humiliate or undermine him. His ability to endure disrespect without retaliation wasn't a sign of weakness, it was a testament to his inner strength. Cato's example reminds us that resilience isn't about ignoring pain or pretending it doesn't exist. It's about acknowledging it, processing it, and choosing not to be controlled by it. So how can we build this kind of resilience in our own lives? It starts with small, deliberate steps. Reflect on moments when you felt disrespected or slighted. How did you respond? Could you have handled it with more calm and clarity? Each time you face disrespect, see it as an opportunity to practice resilience. Over time, these moments become less about what others say or do and more about how you choose to respond. Ask yourself this: what would it look like to approach disrespect with the same unshakable calm as Cato or the wisdom of Epictetus? How can you turn these challenges into opportunities to grow stronger, more composed, and more resilient? The path to resilience isn't always easy, but it's one of the most empowering journeys you can take. What does silence say about your strength? It's often said that words are powerful, but silence, true, deliberate silence, can speak volumes. When faced with disrespect, the instinct to react, to defend, or even to lash out can feel overwhelming. But Stoicism teaches us that silence is not weakness, it's a form of strength. By choosing not to engage, you're not surrendering, you're rising above. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injustice." In other words, responding with restraint rather than anger allows you to maintain your integrity and composure even in the face of provocation. Imagine you're in a public setting, maybe a crowded train or a busy cafe, and someone makes a rude or disrespectful comment. The heat of the moment might tempt you to fire back, to match their tone, or to prove them wrong. But what happens if you don't? Silence can disarm conflict, stripping the other person of the reaction they're seeking. It's a way of saying, you don't have the power to disrupt my peace. This doesn't mean you're ignoring the situation or letting it slide. It means you're choosing not to let it control you. Silence becomes a shield protecting your emotional well-being. So, the next time you're challenged with disrespect, consider this practice. Take a breath, pause, let silence do the talking. It's not about bottling up your feelings or pretending the disrespect doesn't hurt. It's about choosing how you respond and showing that your strength lies in your self-control, not in your ability to argue. When you respond with silence, you're not only preserving your peace, but you're also demonstrating a level of maturity and respect for yourself that no angry retort could ever achieve. Revenge only chains us to the past, keeping us trapped in a cycle of negativity and resentment. The Stoics understood this profoundly, teaching that the desire for revenge stems from a reactive and irrational mind. Seneca once wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." This isn't just a poetic idea, it's a practical reminder that Stoicism invites us to rise above the impulse to retaliate. When we seek vengeance, we unintentionally give our power away, allowing the actions of others to dictate our emotions and behavior. Instead, the Stoic approach encourages us to focus on what we can control, our own thoughts and actions, rather than wasting energy on what we cannot change. Think about how often the desire for revenge arises in our daily lives. Maybe someone insults you in a meeting, or a rude comment on social media triggers your anger. The immediate urge might be to fire back, to make the other person feel what you're feeling. But here's the thing, retaliation rarely resolves the issue. It often escalates the conflict, deepening the divide and prolonging the pain. The Stoics would argue that true strength lies not in lashing out, but in choosing not to engage. By refusing to be drawn into the cycle of revenge, you preserve your inner peace and maintain your integrity. Consider this modern scenario. Imagine someone leaves a harsh comment on one of your posts. The instinctive response might be to reply with equal sharpness, to defend yourself or prove them wrong. But what if instead you took a moment to pause and reflect? What if you chose to let the comment go, recognizing that their words say more about them than about you? This doesn't mean you condone their behavior. It simply means you refuse to let it control you. Ask yourself this: how might your life feel lighter if you let go of the need for revenge? How much energy and mental space could you reclaim if you stopped holding on to grudges? The Stoic path isn't about ignoring injustice or pretending hurt doesn't exist. It's about choosing a response that aligns with your values and preserves your sense of self. When you resist the pull of revenge, you're not giving in, you're stepping into a place of true power and freedom. The past no longer defines you. Instead, you move forward with clarity and purpose, unburdened by the weight of bitterness. What can humility teach us about self-worth? It's a question that cuts to the heart of how we respond to disrespect. Humility, as the Stoics taught, isn't about shrinking ourselves or downplaying our value. It's about recognizing that our worth isn't defined by the opinions or actions of others. When someone tries to belittle us or undermine our confidence, humility gives us the strength to step back and say, "This isn't about me." It allows us to detach from the noise and focus on what truly matters, our inner peace and integrity. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it perfectly when he said, "If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, Do not make excuses about what is said, but answer, "He was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone." What's powerful about this idea is that it shifts the focus away from the insult and toward our own self-awareness. Humility reminds us that we're all works in progress, and no one else's judgment can define us unless we let it. Think about a moment when someone offered you constructive criticism. Maybe it stung at first, but instead of reacting defensively, you took a deep breath and considered their words. That's humility in action, the ability to listen, evaluate, and grow without letting your ego get in the way. It's not about agreeing with every critique, but about staying open to the possibility that there's always room to improve. So, how does humility shape your reactions? When someone disrespects you, do you feel the urge to retaliate, or can you pause and remind yourself that their words don't hold power over you? Humility isn't weakness, it's a quiet strength that helps us rise above pettiness and stay grounded in our values. It's a reminder that our true worth comes from within, and no one can take that away. Self-reflection is the mirror of the Stoic soul. It's where we pause and turn inward, examining not just our actions but the thoughts and emotions driving them. When we face disrespect, our immediate reaction is often defensive or emotional, but self-reflection gives us the space to step back and ask, "Why did this bother me? Was it truly about the other person or something within me that felt exposed?" This practice isn't about blame, it's about understanding and growth. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This is the essence of Stoic self-reflection, realizing that while we can't control how others treat us, we can control how we interpret and respond to it. Take, for example, a moment when someone speaks to you in a dismissive or rude way. Instead of reacting in the heat of the moment, try journaling about it later. Write down what happened, how you felt, and what thoughts raced through your mind. This simple act of writing helps you detach from the emotion and see the situation more objectively. Over time, you'll start to notice patterns. Maybe certain comments trigger you more than others, or perhaps your reactions are tied to deeper insecurities. Recognizing these patterns is the first step toward changing them. Self-reflection doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as simple as setting aside 5 minutes at the end of each day to ask yourself, "How did I handle today's challenges? Could I have responded better?" Make this a daily habit, and you'll find that your ability to handle disrespect with calm and clarity grows stronger. It's not about perfection, it's about progress, and progress, as the Stoics remind us, begins with looking inward. How can adversity make us stronger? This is a question the Stoics asked themselves centuries ago, and their answer remains just as relevant today. Challenges, including disrespect, are not merely obstacles. They are opportunities to build inner strength and refine our character. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, said it best, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." Think about that for a moment. Just as physical exercise strengthens muscles, mental and emotional trials can fortify our resilience and deepen our wisdom. Consider the experience of facing public criticism. It's uncomfortable, even painful, but it's also a chance to practice composure and self-control. When someone speaks ill of us or undermines our efforts, we're presented with a choice. Do we react impulsively, or do we pause and respond with intention? The Stoics would argue that these moments are gifts in disguise. They force us to confront our ego, question our assumptions, and grow beyond our limitations. Reflect on your own life for a moment. Can you recall a time when you faced disrespect or adversity and emerged stronger because of it? Maybe it was a challenging work environment, a strained relationship, or even a personal failure. Whatever the situation, those moments likely taught you something valuable: patience, humility, or perhaps the ability to stand firm in your principles. That's the essence of Stoic philosophy, to see every challenge, no matter how unwelcome, as a teacher. The next time someone treats you with disrespect, try shifting your perspective. Instead of viewing it as an attack, see it as an invitation to exercise your inner strength. Ask yourself, how can I respond in a way that aligns with my values? What can I learn from this experience? When we approach life's difficulties with this mindset, we don't just endure them, we grow through them. Compassion disarms disrespect. It's not just a nice idea, it's a powerful tool rooted in Stoic wisdom. When someone acts disrespectfully, it's easy to react with anger or frustration. But Stoicism teaches us to pause and consider what might be driving their behavior. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." This means recognizing that everyone is fighting battles we can't see. Maybe that rude stranger is having the worst day of their life, or perhaps they're carrying burdens you'll never know about. Compassion isn't about excusing their behavior, it's about understanding it. When you approach disrespect with empathy, you take away its power to upset you. Instead of feeding the conflict, you create an opportunity for connection. Think about a time when someone snapped at you. What happened when you responded with kindness instead of anger? It's amazing how often that simple shift can diffuse tension and even change the course of the interaction. Today, try practicing compassion in your daily life. When faced with disrespect, take a moment to reflect. What might they be going through? How can I respond in a way that uplifts rather than escalates? By choosing compassion, you're not just handling disrespect, you're transforming it. Why do we crave others' approval? It's a question worth asking because at some point, all of us have felt the weight of needing someone else's validation to feel good about ourselves. But here's the thing, Stoicism teaches us that this craving is not only unnecessary but also harmful to our peace of mind. Your self-worth doesn't come from what others think of you, it comes from how you see yourself. As Epictetus once said, if anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said, but answer, he was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone. What does that mean? It means that praise or blame from others is irrelevant. They don't define you. What truly matters is your own integrity, your own values, and your own actions. Think about it this way. Imagine you're at work and someone criticizes a project you've poured your heart into. It's easy to let that criticism shake your confidence, to wonder if you're not good enough. But what if, instead of focusing on their opinion, you focused on the effort you put in, the skills you used, and the lessons you learned? Criticism becomes just another piece of information, useful if it's constructive, but meaningless if it's not. The key is to stay grounded in your own standards, not someone else's. This doesn't mean you should ignore feedback or stop improving. It simply means you shouldn't let others' judgments dictate your self-worth. When you shift your focus from external validation to internal growth, you free yourself from the endless cycle of seeking approval. You become more resilient, more confident, and more at peace with who you are. So the next time you feel the pull of wanting someone else's validation, remind yourself your worth is not up for debate. It's already within you, steady and unshakable. Focus on living by your own values and let the rest fall where it may. Gratitude turns what we have into enough. In the face of disrespect, this simple yet profound truth can be a game changer. The Stoics understood this deeply, teaching that gratitude is not just a passive feeling but an active practice that reshapes our perspective. When someone treats you poorly, it's easy to dwell on the negativity. But what if instead you shifted your focus to the abundance already present in your life? This is where gratitude steps in as a powerful tool. Seneca once wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." In his words, we find a reminder to appreciate life's gifts even when they are overshadowed by challenges. Gratitude forces us to step back and recognize that our worth doesn't hinge on how others treat us. It's about finding value in what we already possess: our relationships, our health, our opportunities, and letting that awareness fortify us against external negativity. Consider this. Imagine you're in a situation where someone's words or actions make you feel small. Instead of focusing on the hurt, you choose to reflect on the people who consistently support you, the skills you've honed over time, or even the small joys of a peaceful moment. Suddenly, the disrespect feels less significant, not because it's unimportant, but because you've reminded yourself of the broader, more meaningful picture. This is the resilience gratitude fosters, a way of seeing beyond the momentary sting. I encourage you to try this practice. The next time you face disrespect, take a moment to list 3 things you're grateful for. It could be as simple as a warm cup of coffee, a kind word from a friend, or the privilege of pursuing your passions. By doing this, you're not ignoring the hurt. You're choosing to rise above it, anchoring yourself in what truly matters. Gratitude isn't about denying pain. It's about refusing to let that pain define your experience. It's a stoic act of strength, a way to reclaim your peace and perspective in the face of adversity. What does true calm look like in the Stoic tradition? It's less about the absence of conflict and more about how we respond to it. This is where equanimity comes into play, a virtue that allows us to remain balanced even when faced with disrespect or provocation. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most renowned practitioners, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that our peace isn't dictated by what happens to us, but by how we choose to react. Imagine you're in a heated debate where someone is dismissive or rude. Instead of reacting with anger or frustration, equanimity allows you to pause, take a breath, and respond with clarity rather than emotion. It's not about suppressing your feelings, but about managing them in a way that keeps you grounded. This doesn't mean you ignore the disrespect, it means you don't let it control you. Practicing equanimity in everyday life starts with small, intentional actions. The next time someone cuts you off in traffic or makes a snide comment, try to pause and observe your initial reaction without acting on it. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Will reacting escalate the situation or resolve it? Over time, these moments of mindfulness become second nature, helping you maintain your inner tranquility even in the face of adversity. The goal isn't to become emotionless, it's to become unshakable. Forgiveness is freedom for the Stoic. It's not about excusing someone's disrespectful behavior or pretending it didn't hurt. Instead, it's about freeing yourself from the weight of resentment and anger. Holding onto those emotions doesn't punish the other person, it only chains you to the past. The Stoics believed that forgiveness is a form of self-care, a way to reclaim your peace and move forward unburdened. Seneca once said, "Anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it." Think about that for a moment. When we stay angry, we're the ones who suffer, not the person who wronged us. Let's say a friend lashed out at you in a moment of frustration, saying something harsh or hurtful. It's natural to feel upset, maybe even hold a grudge, but imagine choosing to forgive them not because their words were okay, but because you refused to let their moment of weakness dictate your emotional state. That's the Stoic approach. Forgiveness isn't about them, it's about you. It's about choosing to release the tension, the bitterness, and the mental clutter that comes with holding on to pain. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. Is there someone you're holding a grudge against? Maybe it's a colleague who undermined you or a family member who said something unkind. How would it feel to let that go, not for their sake, but for yours? Forgiveness doesn't mean you have to forget or reconcile. It simply means you're choosing to stop carrying the emotional weight of their actions. That's the freedom the Stoics talk about, the freedom to live fully, unshackled by the past. What does patience teach us about timing? In the heat of the moment when emotions run high, patience acts as a shield, giving us the space to pause and choose our response rather than being swept away by impulse. Stoicism teaches us that patience isn't just waiting, it's waiting with purpose. It's about recognizing that the most effective actions often come from deliberate timing, not immediate reactions. Epictetus once said, "No great thing is created suddenly, any more than a bunch of grapes or a fig. If you tell me that you desire a fig, I answer that there must be time. Let it first blossom, then bear fruit, then ripen." This wisdom reminds us that even in the face of disrespect, the right response requires the right moment. Imagine someone throws a harsh insult your way. Your first instinct might be to fire back, to defend yourself in the heat of anger. But what if instead you took a breath and waited? What if you allowed yourself the time to process, to consider the bigger picture? Patience gives you that opportunity. It allows you to step back, evaluate the situation, and respond in a way that aligns with your values rather than your emotions. It's not about suppressing your feelings, but channeling them into something constructive. Think about a time when you reacted impulsively to disrespect. Did it resolve the situation, or did it escalate things further? Now, consider how patience might have changed the outcome. By waiting for the right moment, you gain clarity and control. You transform a potential conflict into an opportunity for growth. How might patience improve the way you handle disrespect moving forward? How could it help you stay grounded, even when others try to provoke you? These reflections are key to mastering the Stoic art of patience, turning it into a tool for calm and thoughtful responses. Preparing for disrespect makes it easier to handle when it inevitably arises. This is where the Stoic practice of premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils, comes into play. By anticipating challenges, including moments of disrespect, we can mentally prepare ourselves and reduce the emotional impact when they occur. As Seneca wisely put it, what is quite unlooked for is more crushing in its effect, and unexpectedness adds to the weight of a disaster. In other words, expecting adversity helps us face it with clarity and composure. Think of it like a mental rehearsal. Picture someone criticizing you unfairly. Instead of reacting impulsively with anger or defensiveness, you've already visualized responding calmly and thoughtfully. This exercise isn't about dwelling on negativity. It's about building resilience and removing the element of surprise. When you've already considered how you'll handle disrespect, it loses its power to shake you. Here's how you can try this in your own life. Start by identifying situations where you might face disrespect, whether it's a difficult conversation at work, a heated family discussion, or even an online comment. Imagine the scenario vividly and then practice responding with patience and poise. Over time, this practice will help you approach such moments with a steady mind, knowing you've prepared for them in advance. Premeditatio malorum isn't just about surviving disrespect, it's about thriving in the face of it. By expecting the worst while hoping for the best, you cultivate a mindset that's both realistic and unshakable. This Stoic exercise isn't just a tool, it's a way of life that builds inner strength and confidence, one mental rehearsal at a time. So, what have we learned about handling disrespect like a Stoic? At its core, Stoicism teaches us to detach from the opinions of others, to see insults not as personal attacks but as reflections of the other person's inner state. It's not about ignoring disrespect, but about rising above it with resilience and grace. By shifting our perspective, we turn moments of disrespect into opportunities for growth, strengthening our inner character instead of letting our emotions take control. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's greatest practitioners, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That's the essence of what we've explored today. Inner strength isn't about controlling what others say or do. It's about mastering your own response. When you approach disrespect with this mindset, you reclaim your power and refuse to let external chaos dictate your peace. Now it's your turn. Take these principles into your daily life. The next time someone tries to bring you down, pause, reflect, ask yourself, what can this moment teach me? How can I grow from it? And remember, you're not alone on this journey. If you found this video helpful, consider subscribing for more insights on living a Stoic life. Or share your experiences in the comments below. How do you handle disrespect? Let's learn and grow together.